Hey Dirt Magicians, I have used grow bags to grow most of my vegetable garden in the last 3 years, and in fact I would say about 80% of my garden is just purely grow bags, and I've gotten great harvests from them.
And this was my first year growing in them.
Today we're going to be talking about our experience using them, sharing the good
and the bad. Now there are a few vegetables that I would not grow in these again, so stay tuned for that. But Dee, let's start with the good.
Sounds good. Firstly, I love how durable and portable they are. They're so durable. I've had them for about 3 years, and it rains a lot in the Pacific Northwest, so we get a ton of rain over the winter and lots of sunshine and heat over the summer. And they have lasted just fine with very little wear and tear over the 3-year period. And I also love how portable they are, because we had a big move this year in the summer and we transported them almost about 15 kilometers. And I love that they survived the move, and we would move them with the handles that were full of soil and plants, and the handles didn't even break. The portability has been really great in other ways too. For instance, in the first year when I was still figuring out the sun in my yard across spring and summer, it was just so easy to move the bags around if I just wanted maximum sun or less sun. So for instance, when I was growing the greens and they needed to be more shaded and cooler, I would just move them into the shade. And then when I was growing heat-loving vegetables, including beans and tomatoes and peppers, I would just take them and place them where I get maximum sun. And what's also nice is that if you remove all the plants and the soil, that you can fold them up, and they fold up to almost next to nothing, which means they're easy to store.
It's so true. When you gifted me some in late winter, I was easily able to store them in my apartment until I was ready to use them. I also love how affordable these grow bags are. You gave me a 5-pack where each grow bag was 5 gallons, and it came to $25. So that's only $5 per grow bag, which is crazy when you consider how a pot of the same size would be a minimum of $35. We've linked the grow bags that we like. If you're interested by the end of our review, you can find that in the description box below.
They really are a great investment. There are some adaptations that you have to make in order to grow in them, and we'll go over them later, but I still want to kind of go over some of the other great benefits about growing in these grow bags.
I also love how breathable these grow bags are, which means that they actually drain really, really well. Their drainage is so good, which means we don't have to deal with issues like root rot, which I've seen happen to other gardeners when the drainage is poor in the containers that they're using. I have helped gardeners in the past who were really having issues growing their vegetables in pots, and the answer was usually because the drainage was so poor, the soil was getting waterlogged, causing the roots to rot in the plants. Whereas with grow bags, you don't have to worry at all, as the water comes out of both the sides and the bottom.
Yeah, I've had a lot of great success growing a lot of greens, tomatoes, peppers, peas, beans, lots and lots of flowers, and even a few breeze in these grow bags.
I do like that grow bag lifestyle. Ugh, I'd love to be a plant, just sitting outside, taking in the sun rays all day. And like me, where only one of me fits in a container, there's a few other plants that grow really well in grow bags, but you can only grow one of them per container. And these are our wider plants, like broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. I actually tried to grow 2 in one grow bag, and I ended up with really small broccoli heads. Dirt Magicians, let us know in the comments what plants you've liked growing in grow bags as well. Now, while a lot of plants did really well in grow bags, there's a few that I will not grow again in these containers. And those plants are all from the curcubit family, otherwise known as the squash family. So this includes our cucumbers, our zucchini, and our winter squash. And the reason I won't grow them in a grow bag again is because they got powdery mildew way faster than those gardening around me. While the fabric is great for drainage, it is not good for powdery mildew, as it stays damp all of the time, making a perfect condition for that disease. I've noticed this in other years as well. When we were in Growville, any gardener that was growing the squash family in grow bags got powdery mildew weeks and weeks before other gardeners who were growing in pots or in garden beds. So to summarize, most vegetables grow amazingly in grow bags, except for anything in the squash curcubit family.
Yeah, another issue that I noticed is that the soil in the grow bags do dry out way faster than they do in the Rubbermaid containers. It's probably because the fabric wicks water faster than plastic containers. What we tried to do is that we added a lot of straw mulch into these bags so that we had to water less. But despite the straw mulch, I definitely had to water more than I did with the plastic containers. We've linked the straw mulch that we've used in the description box below. So Dirt Magicians, you know what else helps keep the grow bags moist in the summer? Adding the like button if you're getting value from this video. On a serious note though, because I didn't realize that these grow bags dry out so much faster, my potatoes didn't do well in them at all. I just followed regular potato practices where you really don't need to water potatoes all that much if you're growing them in a different type of container or in a raised bed. So I would only water them once every week or once every 10 days. But because the containers dry out so quickly, the potatoes wilted very, very fast, and my harvest was teeny tiny. So what I would do differently with the bags next year is that I would still grow potatoes in them, but I would mulch and water more frequently. And the last issue that I had is that because I live in the Pacific Northwest and it's just so rainy over the winters, we get almost about 5 or 6 months of rain. What happened is that I left the grow bags out over the winter, and in the spring I noticed that there was a whole lot of moss and a whole lot of mold on the sides of the containers. The way we dealt with it is that we used hydrogen peroxide in order to essentially clean up the moss and the mold, and I didn't have any problems with growing vegetables in them this year. But this year, I will either move them into the garage for them to be dry, or I'm going to cover them with a tarp.
If you don't have a garage to store grow bags in, they are fine outside. I would just recommend disinfecting them in the springtime before you plant, and also mixing all of the soil up. Now, if you're really keen to use grow bags, but you also want to grow squash and curcubit, then we created a video on how to make a different type of garden bed using a Rubbermaid tote. It's really affordable, so check it out here.